There's a lot of ideas floating around there for what Tesla's next model should be, especially since this invitation went out at Giga Shanghai. I apologize for calling it GF3 in the past. They all have official names now. They want us to use the name of the location of that factory. But anyway, they want to have a design studio at this new place so that they can actually design a new car that they haven't unveiled yet. And on one of those applications, this concept made an appearance. Now, I don't think this is confirming anything because the China-designed Tesla, I'm sure, is years away from even an unveiling, let alone production. But it got a lot of people thinking about making a smaller, more compact version of the Tesla, and why hasn't this brand that's so well known for electric cars made something that's kind of compact, a little bit smaller, not much storage, but it's just a basic commuter car made to get you from home to the grocery store or home to work and back, and not really anything for road trips. I have a few theories on why Tesla hasn't done this yet, and I think it's mostly because lots of other companies out there have made electric cars that are just meant to be basic commuters. They barely even get 200 miles of range. They're simple, they're easy to charge because there's not much of a battery pack in them, and I think Tesla's ultimate goal is to get more people who are comfortable with gas cars switching over to electric, whereas these super compact EVs, usually ones with hatchbacks, and they're not very long and they don't have much storage, that are just meant for commuting purposes. Lots of companies have already unveiled stuff like that, and Tesla is probably aware that you're not going to get a lot of people to switch over to electric vehicles by just convincing them they don't need to drive as far, or they don't need a range as good as a gas car. They just need to buy a commuter car, and when it comes to road trips, I don't know, I guess you're screwed. So in other words, the EV market did not need more companies introducing this. And now that Tesla has had so much tremendous success with the Model 3, and we're likely going to see equivalent success with the Model Y, a lot of people are coming back to the idea of liking a commuter car and saying, hey, you know, there's some people in different parts of the world that do not need to drive great distances, and basically just, they want to have a Tesla, they love that software, they love the autopilot features, they love how smart the cars are designed, but they don't need that extended range, and they just want it to be at a more affordable price point. I think that's what most people like about the idea of the compact commuter car, because it means that they can make a Tesla more affordable, and even if the range is sub 200 miles, people would buy it just because they want to have a Tesla and they want that software experience and autonomy features. So I definitely think there's a market there, and I think China could be a really excellent place to design that vehicle because there's a lot of very crowded and very condensed places in that country where some type of commuter car that doesn't need to go great distances could make a lot of sense, especially in places in Europe, which Tesla has mentioned that this new car that they're planning on designing at Giga Shanghai will be shipped or mass-produced worldwide. So just because they're designing it in China does not mean that it has to exclusively only be in that country. They'd be willing to build it or potentially ship it overseas in other countries that may be so interested in it. So in my country, in the United States, commuter cars like this are not terribly popular. You know, you see them occasionally, but I think the target demographic is definitely in a lot of places in Europe because that's also known as a continent with a lot of countries with very condensed cities and not very many driving cases where you need to go off of great distances. It also goes along to support the idea of energy efficiency and saying that, you know what, for most of the people on the road, we're driving these giant pieces of machinery. They weigh thousands and thousands of pounds and they're just moving one little person, and that's kind of inefficient, which is why public transport is very logical for a lot of people in big cities. And with commuter cars, it supports that idea that we don't need to have that much space. We don't need to spend all that excessive money on a giant vehicle because I'm just one person, I don't have a lot of kids, and I just need to commute to places back and forth. And I think that once Tesla has proven their point that they can get people to adopt a mass market of electric vehicles and they can do just as much as gas cars can, if not better, that's when you'll probably see them start diversifying a little bit with their lineup and make something like the ultra compact Tesla that maybe has a range under 200 miles, which in my use cases would not be ideal. I don't think I would pay for a Tesla with a range that low, but I think there's people out there that would consider it, especially given there's plenty of people considering lots of other EVs that do not have great range. But I think the compact version of the Tesla would probably be the best EV in its class, because we know Tesla with their battery tech can make a low amount of kilowatt hours go a great distance. So even if they wanted to make a car with a sub 200 mile range, or let's just say for this compact car, the best range it can possibly get is 200 miles. They could do that with probably a pretty small battery pack, especially if it's a much lighter vehicle. It requires much less energy to move the thing. But I also imagine they would keep features that people like about the Model 3 and Y, like the 15-inch display in the center. You would still be able to play games on it, watch videos and movies on it. And the expensive part of an electric vehicle is usually the battery pack, so there's no reason that this compact Tesla would be capable of full self-driving and autopilot features. And of course, my opinion, the biggest advantage advantage Tesla has over its competitors, the supercharging network. So imagine if you had a battery pack pretty small, probably sub 50 kilowatt hours, because they use the 50 kilowatt hour battery pack on the standard range Model 3, and that can go 250 miles. So if you want to make something smaller and lighter than that, imagine how quickly you could supercharge that thing up, and imagine how easy it would probably be to recharge a compact Tesla from home. Even with a standard 110 outlet, you could probably get more than 6 miles an hour like you currently do with the Model 3, so people wouldn't even need to install special hardware with these vehicles. And no, they could not replace your typical gas car, but if someone just knew their needs, they knew what they needed out of a car, and they didn't need much, they didn't need that much cargo space, they didn't need that much obsessive range, or maybe they have an electric vehicle or a gas car that they will leave reserved for great distances, but just for the everyday stuff, they want to stick to an EV. Tesla Compact, I could actually see selling pretty well, because there's a lot of people who doubt the company at this point that say that electric cars are still far too expensive, and making a car that's specifically designed to combat that immediate complaint and say, hey, we can actually sell brand new cars in the 30K or less segment, that would put a lot of people who have doubts in Tesla to shame, because they could see that no, you don't get an amazing car for under 30K, but you can get one. And I think a lot of the reasons people love their Tesla is not all about the cargo space or about the great range. I mean, that's a big advantage they have, but a lot of the reasons people enjoy their Tesla are just the software, how seamlessly it works with your phone, and the autopilot features. So making a lower range compact Tesla, I think, would make a lot of sense for their next step, but there's definitely other models of vehicle I would love to see them go into, but we can save that one for another day. Let me know what you guys would think of a compact Tesla. Something smaller with a sub 200 mile range. Is there a way they can still make sure that it's built safely? I would say with the radar and camera sensors around Teslas, that would probably keep it pretty safe as is. Crumple zone wise, you do get a bit of a compromise when making a smaller vehicle like this, but I feel like the Cybertruck was designed without a crumple zone in mind. But anywho, let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.